With Star Trek's earlier incarnation, we face a clash between the official chronology, the given stardates, and the vague chronology used by the films whilst being produced, often expressed through dialogue. We might call it a cavalier attitude towards early chronology, but this has provided us here with some fun debate, or at least I find it fun on an intellectual level, but your mileage may vary. For much of Trek, dating was by not recognizable calendar dates, but a series of numbers known as stardates. Stardates in the original series ranged from 1312 to 5943. These might suggest the 5-year mission, if we take the first digit as the year of the mission. Stardate 1312 starts with the number 1, which would be year 1. Stardate 5943 starts with the number 5, which might mean year 5. For example, the 3rd season episode The Enterprise Incident took place on Stardate 5031.3. We might suppose, therefore, that it was in the final year of the 5-year mission. If this was intentional, and it might well have been, then it was a practice which was passed on to Star Trek The Next Generation, but with a modification. In that series, the stardates were 5, not 4 digits long. The first digit was the number 4, but the second digit was the season number. For example, the first season episode Encounter at Farpoint had a stardate of 41153.7. The 5th season episode Ensign Row had a stardate of 45076.3. If the original series of Star Trek started at 1312, then it is implied that Starfleet began the practice of using stardates shortly before the 5-year mission began, which in the real world would seem unlikely, but we shall let that go. It is fun to note, or at least it's fun for me, that if we rearrange the original series episodes by stardate using this logic, then we get some interesting results. As this is not the focus of this video, I will explore these results in another video. Getting back to the point though, we notice that there are 4,631 stardate points, if we may use this term, between stardate 1312, where no man has gone before, and stardate 5943, all are yesterdays. If the original series covers the 5-year mission, then 4,331 stardate points cover about 5 years. The first 6 feature films take place over 2,109 stardate points, which is less than the 5-year mission. The motion picture had a stardate of 7412.6. This stardate suggests the motion picture took place only a short time after the end of the original series, a little over a year later. This clashes with dialogue in the film. Kirk states he has been at Starfleet operations for 2.5 years. The Genesis trilogy, The Wrath of Khan, The Search for Spock, and The Voyage Home, have stardates of 8130.3, 8210.3, and 8390 respectively. These numbers suggest the events of these 3 films took place in a very narrow window of time, which is confirmed by the official chronology. It is interesting to note that if stardates are consistent, then there was more time between the Final Frontier, Stardate 8454.1, and the Undiscovered Country, Stardate 9521.6, than there was between the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan. There are 1,000 stardate points between the 5th and 6th films, but only 718 between the 1st and 2nd films. And yet, the official chronology puts the motion picture in 2271 and The Wrath of Khan in 2285, which is 14 years, whilst The Final Frontier is placed in 2287 and The Undiscovered Country in 2293, which is only 6 years. The stardates and the official chronology disagree. Our third champion in this chronology boxing ring is the on-screen dialogue. As we saw in an earlier video, dating the motion picture, the on-screen evidence suggests that the first film was set around 2290 instead of the official 2271. In the film, Decker stated that Voyager 6 was launched more than 300 years ago. In the real world, Voyagers 1 and 2 were launched in the late 1970s. It follows that a fictional sixth Voyager could not have been launched until 1980 at the earliest, so 300 years ago would push the motion picture to 2280, not 2271. Moreover, Decker said more than 300 years ago. This is oddly specific, the sort of thing you say when you're being accurate without being too pedantic. More than might mean 10 or 20 years, but I chose 10 years, supposing the events of the motion picture to have happened in 2290 at the earliest. Also, if we take more than to be more than 10 years, then that would challenge dating clues in the Genesis trilogy. Based on dialogue in The Voyage Home, we must keep these films within the 23rd century. The events of The Wrath of Khan, The Search for Spock, and The Voyage Home were all closely related time-wise. As we have seen, the films had stardates of 8130.3, 8210.3 and 8390 respectively. The official chronology put the first two in the same year, with The Voyage Home taking place a year later. The Genesis trilogy offers us clues as to their chronological relationship with the original series. In The Wrath of Khan, Kirk said that he had not seen Khan for 15 years. The Wrath of Khan was released in 1982, whilst the original series episode Space Seed was first broadcast on US television in 1967. This is 15 years in real time, and so from that perspective, Kirk's statement was an accurate one. In The Search for Spock, Admiral Morrow stated that the Enterprise was 20 years old. The Search for Spock was released in 1984. Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pilot episode, was broadcast in 1966. This is 18 years before The Search for Spock, which is close enough. If we add that the first pilot episode, The Cage, was produced in 1964, then Morrow's statement becomes even more accurate. The official chronology, however, makes the Enterprise 40 years old by the time of the Genesis trilogy. Personally, I have never understood why they chose 2245 as the launch year of the Enterprise. It would make the Enterprise of the original series a 20-year veteran of space travel by the time of the 5-year mission. She would hardly be the latest thing in starship design. It has been speculated that Morrow's 20 years comment referred to the refit program. Does this hold water? I think not, and I have a real-world example to illustrate my reasoning. The cruiser HMS Belfast was launched in 1938 and commissioned in 1939. In the 1950s, she had an extensive refit as part of a modernization program, rather like the fictional Enterprise. But no one in 2005 says the Belfast is 69 years old. Instead, they say she is 87 years old. The same principle can be applied to Morrow's Enterprise comment. He did not refer to the refit of the Enterprise, but the age of the ship herself, because that is the natural way we speak of such things. Morrow was making the point that the Enterprise was past her best, and if she really had been launched in 2245, he would have said 40 years old, not 20, as that would have underlined his point. Taking this dialogue as evidence, therefore, we can say that the Enterprise was not 40 years old at the time of the search for Spock, but only 20 years old. In the voyage home, Kirk mentioned he was from what in a 20th century calendar would be the 23rd century. As the last of the Genesis trilogy, this dates the voyage home to no later than 2299. If the motion picture was indeed set in 2290, then the Genesis trilogy must have taken place within the remaining decade of the 23rd century. And if this is the case, then a minimum of 10 years must lie between the motion picture and the final episode of the original series. This is not unrealistic, given that 10 years had indeed passed in the real world. The cast all looked 10 years older. But if this is the case, then how do we account for the star dates? We have a rough idea of the Star Trek chronology, based on the clues on screen. Let us speculate over what a new timeline, based on these clues, might look like. First, the Enterprise is launched at some time around 2274. Shortly afterwards, the events of the Cage take place. Second, the 5-year mission under Kirk begins in 2277 and runs until around 2282. Third, if we are correct about the original series star dates, then Space Seed happens in the 3rd year of the 5-year mission, in 2279. Fourth, at some time between 2282 and 2290, Kirk is promoted, and in 2287 or 2288 he becomes Chief of Starfleet Operations. This leaves us with a big gap, of course. Perhaps there was a second 5-year mission. Fifth, in 2289, the Enterprise begins its major refit. Sixth, in 2290, the events of the motion picture take place. Seventh, in 2294, Khan escapes from City Alpha 5, 15 years after the events of Space Seed, and later in the same year, Admiral Morrow states that the Enterprise is 20 years old. Eighth, a year or so later, Kirk and company travel back in time, and Kirk states that he is from the 23rd century. It is a very pretty chronology, but there is a problem. The movie Stardates contradict this new timeline, but the Stardates as a whole create their own problem. If we are correct about the original series Stardates, then all of the events from Where No Man Has Gone Before, Stardate 1312.4, to Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country, Stardate 9521.6, must take place over a 9-year period. This is blatantly absurd. The official chronology is now so well established that it will not be overturned, so we might as well shrug and carry on. But whether you agree or disagree with my revised chronology, there is no denying that this has been a fun little romp, at least for me. So for now, I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least did not hate it.